Hello, 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 and welcome to the Bunker Broadcast with me, your host Harbinger. So this is the first episode in the Napoleon Total War playthrough that we'll be embarking on. And what I'm going to do through this, obviously, we're going to be playing the game, learning things, and really for anyone who doesn't really know much about the game, may not really understand it and may want some tips and pointers, while also having some exciting gameplay for those people who do enjoy this and have played it quite a few times. So we're going to be trying to, cover something for everyone, make it enjoyable for all parties. So, going into the game, we're obviously going to be playing the campaigns of the Coalition, and we're going to be starting with Prussia. Now, choosing Prussia really just because I want in a bit more of a tactical element, because it's quite a landlocked country. We're going to be bordering quite a few empires, which make things a lot more interesting, rather than generally, a lot of people do play as Great Britain. You're going to be having big naval battles, but I've done that far too many times, so something new for me and something new for you. So we're going to be playing this with very hard campaign difficulty and very hard battle difficulty. In terms of gameplay options, we are going to show CPU moves, because it is important to have this on when you're having your trade route set up and you're getting line of sight on some things. It is nice to know what the enemy's doing. Obviously, we're not having auto city management, and I don't use battle time limits, prefer to let it play out as long as it might do. You're never really going to go over that 60-minute mark, which is the maximum that you can have in terms of time allowance, but no battle time limit suits me a lot better. So, without further ado, let's get started.
The seemingly unstoppable armies of Napoleon are a great threat to all Europe. But for now, Prussia should keep their own council. Britain, Austria and Russia have requested you join the war effort against Napoleon. But
Indeed.
for now, the king prefers to observe the progress of the conflict from afar before acting decisively one way or the other, as German states may be under threat from both France and Austria. As the leading German nation, it is up to Prussia to protect the sovereignty of those states. Perhaps it would be better to annex them yourself to guarantee their independence from French imperialism.
Oh yes, that's what we'll be doing.
The best strategy is to build your armies up to full strength, whilst France and Austria fight it out, then ally with the power who best serves Prussian interests.
She knows the
All
stuff.
the while the Russian bear looms in the east, eager to sweep the German-speaking parts of Poland into its mighty paw. Whatever happens next, delaying for too long will result in the destruction of Prussian possessions across its rightful homelands, something that must not be allowed to happen.
Right, and here we go. Let's get started. Lovely introduction there. Blatantly obvious. Build up armies, yes. Defend against other people, yes. But also, more the focus really is we're going to be wanting to try and ally with the people around us. Keep them on side until we can really build up a good base to either just defend, maybe go and take a few territories, but really the big part of this game is defeating France. France are boltard. They have the best range of cannons, they've got the best morale infantry, they have the best accuracy, they're just all round hardcore. So let's have a look what we've got to start with. Mission issued, reformation of the army, construct a building, drill school, blah 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 blah. Experience for land units, yes, I'll be taking that, thank you. So here we have the Prussian Empire. Yes, it does start out quite big, but the one thing that is quite lacking here, as you may be noticing, is it is devoid of anything useful. Another thing to note when you are starting as the Prussians is that none of your infrastructure is existent. There are no roads in any of these towns that have been built, and that is one of the biggest priorities that you need to get started at the beginning. Not only for increasing your income and your replenishment rate, but also campaign movement speed. It's all there in effect, it's self-explanatory. So, what we're going to be starting with is we're going to be looking through the government. National summary, this just gives you, your brief overview of what's going on at the moment in there. This is not really, not really all that important. The religion is important for your diplomacy, so do keep an eye on that. Ooh, getting the hiccups. Project income. Now, on your left, you've got how much you're earning. On the right, how much expenditure is going out. Income next turn, fairly self-explanatory. Now, when we're moving on to policies, this is where it gets important. You're going to be wanting to set these levels to the lowest you can possibly can. You want to keep your citizens happy, and you want to make sure that you've got that ability to move armies around. You're not buying units just for the sake of keeping people happy, and you want to be getting that town growth going. So just for an example, if we're looking Berlin, growth this turn, see tax level very low. We're going to be getting 15 gold growth per turn, and that does very specifically add on to your income next turn, and that's what makes it so important as opposed to regional wealth. Regional wealth will give you a nice boost. They do go up in quite big increments when you're building the buildings, such as your manufactory or your lumber yards, things like that. But when it comes down to actually sustaining yourself, you really need to be thinking about your growth per turn. That is the most important element of your taxing system. So income next turn, yeah, obviously we're not going to be leaving it on that. So what we're going to have to start with is nobility on the middle level, lower classes down 1, and we can see that set it out nicely. Now this will change when obviously we don't want to be having such a low amount. So next thing you want him to be doing is going into your diplomatic relations. Straight away, before you do anything else, before you're looking around the map, straight into your diplomatic relations, see what people are like with you, and then start building up your trade routes. So what we look at, we can get in trade routes here with Great Britain, Ottoman Empire, France, Austria, Spain, and we already have one set up with Russia. Any other information that you need on anything, generally in Total War, it's going to come up when you hover over it. It's very nice like that. And as you can see, you've got all your modifiers here for why you would be friendly or unfriendly, and as you can see, the religious differences. Not the biggest increment, but every little helps. As you can see, these are all +10s, +5s, so everything's making a difference. So we're going to start by getting our trade agreement set up with the big 3. Austria and Great Britain. And we're going to try and get a trade agreement with France. Don't be afraid to be friendly with the French. Improving your relations is something that's going to be quite important to you. You want to try and stave them off as long as you can while you build your substantial forces up, so when they do attack, and you'll know about it, it happens relatively early in the game. You want to be in a good strong position for when that happens. So let's try and get a trade agreement here. No, not having it. We could try and offer them something, but we'll just leave that for now. It's not the biggest important thing in the world. Now, when we're talking about military alliances, the thing really to remember is they do have an effect on your diplomatic relations once again. You don't want to be allying with people who are going to drag you into wars, namely Austria. Austria are going to be fluctuating quite a lot. They're going to be attacking the French on their west, and then around here in the southeast they're going to be fighting the Ottoman Empire. As you can see, we look at the Ottoman Empire, they are not friendly with anyone. They want to kill us, but that's not really an issue that we're going to have to deal with until they fought their way through Austria and Russia. So for us, not really a problem at the moment. What we do want to do, however, is keep Russia friendly. Always keep the Russians friendly. Those sneaky, sneaky Russians. So there we go, military alliance. And we're not going to bother with a military alliance with anyone else at the moment. Just Russia, we just want to keep them on side for the meantime. We don't want to be having to decline alliances, because that will affect everyone's diplomatic relations, not just the diplomatic relations with the country that you have cancelled the alliance with. And once again, don't ignore the minor nations. When you're going in and attacking little city-states, you always want to be coming and checking who they're allies with. As you can see, not really anyone's allied at the moment. This is going to change rapidly, because when you're a small city-state, you want to get everyone on side as much as you can. For example, Kingdom of Sicily. There's quite a few allies already. There's also quite war with quite a few people. Saxony. Saxony is an important point really to address when you are starting as Prussia. It being one of the target victory conditions. And as you can see with the victory conditions, we're looking at basically conquering Germany as well as holding 25 regions, which is pretty much going to be going through France, maybe taking a bit out of Russia, the Austrian Empire, or going up and taking Copenhagen and Denmark. So I can tell you for certain Saxony will ally with Austria pretty much in the first turn, second turn. Really not going to take too long for them to do that. So Saxony is the target for the first turn. Immediately we're going to be wanting to taking these two armies and attacking Saxony, but we'll do that at the end of the turn once we've spent all our gold that we've got and we've just sort of set everything up for what we're wanting to do. So now, noting France has Hanover, so they do have some presence there, which is slightly scary, but we have Clevers. Now, you may be thinking, you know, not really that important, it's not connected to the Empire, but you would definitely be wrong there. Clevers has a couple of nice extra buildings there for you to go into, so we've got the option of a manufactory or a gunsmith, and a mine, iron mine. Mines are always very good, they're always going to bring you a lot. Only 100 region wealth at the moment, but that will multiply. And we're going to get the -3 recruitment cost from doing that as well. And then we have a look here, the gunsmith compared to the manufactory. You know, we can balance this out with the mine. We can get a -3 on the artillery. Having the -1 happiness from industrialization isn't so much of a problem. If you're familiar with Fall of the Samurai, then you'll be also familiar with the loss in happiness and the modernization. Not so much to worry about as long as you make sure that you're keeping these policies down. This isn't always sort of your focal point in terms of deciding what you're building and where you're building it. You're going to want to keep an eye on here. So like here, obviously 750, we can build a theatre, we can get +1 happiness to all classes, as well as getting that +4 per turn for region wealth. So looking at what we're wanting to do then, in the towns and cities which are all very underdeveloped when you start as Prussia, first thing we're going to be wanting to do is we're going to go on to get all this infrastructure up. Very important. It's going to give you replenishment, growth per turn, improving movement speed. Very important things. So don't just spend all your money in, say, Berlin, go, I want an army, I'm going to go and start attacking, because come the next turn you're going to have no money. You're going to really feel that strain coming on you and you're going to be in a sticky situation. So for me, the priority, close that, is getting this infrastructure done. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get these basic roads done. Okay, so that's that one. Press allow down here. Just put these up, and the final one in Clevers. Now, as I was saying before with Clevers, quite important, you're getting some good resources from that, and it's providing you a nice buffer against France when they do eventually attack, and it's giving you a focal point in terms of how you're going to expand from Berlin. You're going to notice that all of your towns and cities are on the right side of Berlin, so clear expansion is this way. It's pretty much pointing you in this way. As you said before, these city-states are your primary objective. So, what we're going to want to do now is we're going to go and have a look at the research. So first things first, we're going to put our gentleman in there and reduce the research rate. And when you come in here, if anyone's played Empire, you're going to notice that everything's a lot more simple. You know, you don't have this pretty much for each of the single trees, and you're not going to be really increasing, you know, say your bayonets, or you're going to be having to get in square formation. We're in 1805, all that's already done. This is pretty much when you would have finished the Empire campaign. The actual victory date for that is 1799, so it's going on the basis that all that's already done. So really we're working on the things that are integral to this game, which is things like your replenishment rate, your happiness, your research rate, because this is a game that's really a lot more action-packed and a lot faster paced. Just another reason why I chose to do it as opposed to doing an Empire playthrough or maybe doing more medieval or Rome. And obviously not Rome 2, because I don't even need to tell you how much of a knife to the heart that game is. Ooh, such a terrible game. As you can see, -5 upkeep for army costs, division of labour, wealth generated by all buildings, generated by farms. Really, you're going to be wanting thinking about, you know, what are your priorities at the moment. So looking at Prussia, who we're playing as, our priorities are getting all our economy up and running. We're only bringing in 978 gold a turn, and when we start building units, we're really going to feel the strain on that. So, looking into our research then, national debt's giving us -5% on the upkeep, +5 to town wealth in all your regions, -1 happiness, clamour for reform. And once again you can see how much happiness is going to start playing a role, so how important it is to keep those tax bands down, keep your cities growing, and have the money to offset some of this unhappiness that you're going to be feeling. But ultimately it isn't the worst thing in the world. Don't feel restricted by the happiness. If you want to go conscription, go conscription, although really you only need to be doing that once you're wanting to try and get down to the drill school, because you've got to bear in mind that we already have the barracks. We're going to want to drill school for, that's our objective. As we can see, you know, this recruitment increase on the veterancy, that is from the drill school. That's got nothing to do with the objective. Basically every unit in your army is going to get 1 chevron. That is the whole point of that objective, so it is a good one to go for soon, especially seeing as we're playing this on the hardest difficulty. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to go for national debt, we're going to get that region wealth, and we're going to reduce the upkeep, so we're getting money in both areas. Have a look at construction, that's 3,000. 6 turns, so I'm looking here. Well, I do want to put this, as I was saying, this is something I want to hold on to, so I'm going to very slowly get these musketeers in. Another thing to know, if you don't have the capacity to build them, don't stack them up and waste all your money. It can be useful later on when you've got quite a large stat and you just want to get it there and forget about it and focus on other things. But at the beginning, never overdo it. Always go with only what you can do. You don't know what's going to come around the corner. You don't know if you're then going to have to cancel them out and take them out anyway. So always something to think about. Now, in terms of the naval aspect of Prussia, as I've said earlier, not really something that we're going to be focusing on. However, later on, there are reasons to come out, and these are the trade routes. So, say if you're playing as Britain, you've already very nicely set up to grab all 4 of these trade routes. You're looking at cotton, tobacco. In terms of the amount you get in, as it says from the first trade ship, 20 cotton. You know, this is all standard for every single one. The thing to note is, if we go and look at the trade, the differences in the world market. So with ivory and spices being the most exotic things by this period that were freely available to most people, represented by the lower values in tobacco, sugar, coffee being the lowest, furs. Something to take note of. If you're wanting to invest a lot of money in trade ships, which are made if you're playing a more naval game, you want to go for the spices, you're going to want to go for the ivory, which aren't, so there's one there, some tea either side, but most of the ivory and spices are here along the north coast of Africa. A couple of coffees there, some spices. Another thing to note, the trade is susceptible to quantity, so if you are maxing out all of the ivory, you are going to see a drop in the world market price. It does fluctuate depending on those imports, which is really good. I do very much enjoy that, rather than it just keeping at a set value. Helps with the immersiveness, helps with the diplomatic style, and you know, having to work and decide what you want to get here and there. So you might find that, you know, you're getting all these coming in and then not much sugar is going around at the moment, so the price may go up. I'm not too sure how the game works out, but I think there are some sort of elements of where every now and then there may be a spike here and there. Not really all that noticeable, but something to always keep an eye on. Okay, so looking at the ministers, you've got 5 guys in your state. So you've got the head of state. As you can see, this is going to be affecting your towns and your diplomatic relations, prestige, your treasury, global tax rate, trade route income, town wealth, so pretty much what you would expect. Repression, town watch, repression again. Army, obviously, recruitment costs, technology research rate, and then similarly for the navy, that is comparable with the army. Now in terms of the stars, as I'm sure you've noticed, 3 is your base. 3 is where they're not doing badly, but they're not doing well either, so you're not getting any effects on there. 1 star, 2 star, you're going to get negative effects, and then like this guy, you're going to get a nice few effects there. We've got -8% recruitment cost for all land units in this region, and by this region it means the capital. Always going to mean the capital if it says in this region, otherwise it will say for all units as it does at the bottom there. Now the candidates are linked to when you're wanting to fire a minister. So for example, we can see that the Justice Minister is not very good. I'm choosing Justice Minister over the Navy because, like I said, we're Prussia, quite landlocked. We're not going to want to really to focus on a Navy at the moment. So we're going to select him, and when we kick him, it will randomise which of these candidates it will pick. So an important thing to know, instead of just wildly firing your ministers, really think about it. Is there a need? Is there going to be a lot of 2s and 1s which can happen, thus reducing the need to do it? Is there any, say if you had 4 or 5 stars on the head and there was someone down here who had quite an astronomical amount of stars, and you wanted to really improve your diplomatic relations, or maybe you wanted to increase your repression because you were putting your tax rate up, and you wanted to still be able to move your armies around freely and not have to worry too much about that, then that might be a reason to kick out someone with a few more stars than 3. However, at the moment now, we have the Justice, and we're going to want to get rid of him, and we're going to try and hopefully get this guy, Walter Hine, with his 4 stars, and no. Wonderful. So that's not happening, but still you get the point. It's very safe to do it because nothing's really going to change, and then on the off chance, you might get a little bit out of it. Okay, so really what we covered the government types and the diplomatic relations now. Our research objectives, we've had a look at this. So another thing, the final thing really in terms of this panel of 6 here, is your lists. They can be useful, definitely. They aren't always that important because obviously you can see everything on the campaign map, but if you're just having a look and you're maybe wanting to flick units about, you need to get rid of some because you're having things raided, your taxes are going down. It's just an easy way to get to things. An easy way to sort of sit and have a think and work things out. Regions as well, easier way to see who's earning, who's not. Because when you're coming here, you always have to hover over. Once again, it's pretty easy to just do it all from the campaign map with your cursor, but if you're wanting sort of a comprehensive view, there you go in your regions. Agents, very important. As we did, we put the gentleman over here, and he's in there, and got the spy in Greater Poland. Spies are going to be quite important in this game as Prussia. Very useful. As you can see down here, it can assassinate, so we can get rid of their agents. They can sabotage buildings, and they can sabotage armies. Sabotaging armies, the whole purpose of that is to stop them moving, so it adds that tactical element of using your spies in conjunction with a large army. Say maybe they were on a river crossing, you needed to get round but you didn't want to expose the rear for whatever reason. There could be a town near there, or you need to beat an enemy army to a hill, to a town, fortress. Spies are going to be really useful for that, as well as just generally giving you that line of sight that you need to help plan your attack. Another thing to note really with your spies is wherever you want to move them. This one we're going to want to already start bringing them over here. Keep an eye on the French. Just always right click where you want to go. Don't sit and think, oh, I'm going to remember I'm going to do it every single turn. Do this when you win your turn, when not this turn, next turn when it has movement. you're going to notice it, and it's going to give you a reminder, because you will forget. I forget, everyone forgets. Spies are hard to keep an eye on, and they are important and very useful, considering that they are free and they spawn from places like this. You may think, well, I don't want to really do it, I'm only getting it for the spy spawns, but bear in mind as well, not only are you getting the spies, you're also increasing your happiness for all classes. So also it's a big important thing there. The secret societies and the members club that you start with are definitely buildings that are worth having. So without further ado, then we're going to just spend the rest of this money, as I say, looking at recruitment in there, getting that done. Manufactory or the mine, not too sure. I'll probably build the manufactory first. These armies we're going to get underway. We've got all the infrastructure going up. As you can see here, look, very expensive factory, need prerequisites, but as you can see, it's giving you a lot of bonuses. You're getting -6 to artillery, and you're getting +500 to regional wealth. And you can see as well why I'm stressing the point of going for the town growth rather than the region wealth. It's 500. Yes, it's a nice amount, but over time, it's not going to have that much effect. It's going to give you nice little bonuses. It's going to let you get onto your other research rates, and once you've accumulated them, it's going to be great. But I'm paying 3,600 gold, you know, which is a lot of gold, just to get that +500, while losing my happiness from the industrialisation. You're keeping your tax mans down, and you're getting your farms built, which, although it says replenishment, is still doing your growth, because once we looking at the town, growth per turn, what's effectively growth in this turn, you know, agriculture, tax burden, all very important. They all have knock-on effect. Population equals equals money, town growth, wealth, all having nice effects. And we can see we're spending 900 and we're getting 200 regional wealth. 3,600, yes, all this other stuff, 500 regional wealth. So let's have a look at what we've got. Lots of buildings that need building upon. Here's another good point: markets and supply posts. With like I say, the difficulty we're playing on and the new system compared to Empire, of the fact that armies replenishes themselves, which is another reason why I did choose to do this. The amount that you had to spend on replenishing your armies in Empire, my god, was ridiculous. And you still had to wait 2 turns as well, so you know you were static for quite a while. Someone came and attacked you, you found yourself merging units together. You know, this is a much better way of doing it. I'm very glad that they changed it to this, just to take out the money element and help you focus on other things, as anyone that's played the Shogun series will also be aware of. You know, it made a big difference to how the game played. So really, with the supply posts, these are very important. Your +8% doesn't look like much, but when you're stacking these and stacking this with the farms, you can, that's a horse cavalry region, that's not the right one. Here we go. It'll stack, it'll stack, it'll stack, you know, and you could really, that's the second level, there's another level, and you're going to find it making a big difference. Units that are from 120 around 20, 30 men really are looking at, it's going to do it in 2 turns once you're getting those buildings built up nice and big. You're going to want around here, your frontier towns where we're going to be fighting the French, we're going to want these supply posts coming up. Over here, you know, we've got Russia, we're allied with them, they're friendly, we've got time to build up a force. We already know, as we can see here, we do have a substantial force, we can collude that together, and we can, you know, have that protecting this area. Once the infrastructure's done up, you know, you're going to be able to have one army, dart it about. You're not really going to be stuck in that position where you're going to be having a few units here, a few units there. So all of it comes together. It's very important. I can't stress enough how much you need to spend this first turn looking at your options, no matter who you're playing as, seeing where you want it to go, seeing what your tax bands are like, what your units you're dealing with, you know, what the economy situation's like, and piecing it all together in starting to get an impression of where you want to be 5 turns ahead, 10 turns ahead. Now I know that what we're wanting to do is we're going to want to get this gold per turn up, we're going to want to make sure replenishment is improved, we're wanting to get an army built over here in Clevez, and we're wanting to bring all these into the fold. So, spending this last bit of money then, let's see what we've got. Market, so we're looking at 1200, so yeah, we'll get a supply post there, and we'll get the market there. Market plus 6% of return regional wealth, excuse me, and plus 50 just as standard. So we'll get that. 669, can we build anything else? We can get another unit. Let's just have a look here. Right clicking, brilliant, gives you everything, just hovering over. It's giving you all your range, accuracy and melee. That's one of the beautiful things about Total War series, always letting you know everything that's going on. You never find yourself, looking through all big, I say Civilopedia because I just play far too much Civilization, that's what I'm thinking of. But like in a big encyclopedia that can be quite tedious and going through like Rome 2. Yeah, Rome 2, story of my life. Okay, so let's have a look what we want to do. When we're looking at the armies, we've not got a lot here. We've got musketeers, we've got a lot more Jaeger infantry, light horses, which is not good. We want a nice good block of light infantry. That is your staple in your armies. You're always going to be wanting to have the majority musketeer units. You're looking at really filling out this top bar. Each bar is 10, by the way. It's 20 units in an army, and for these higher tier gameplays, you really going to be wanting to have a stack and a half walking about, most likely with the second stack boasting infantry and a couple of cavalry units, because you're going to run out of ammo for starters, and you're going to end up in melee combat, and you're going to want to get those extra units coming onto the battlefield, so then when you start cacking your pants because the French are there and they're currently munching their way through your infantry, you can think it's okay because I've got another contingency coming in behind me. So what we're going to do now then, everything else I do believe is ready. We've got all our trade set up in major nations, everything we want. We've got our recruitment going there, we've got all our infrastructure building, got a few of these going on, chosen our research rate. So let's get on with the business of the first city and taking out Dresden. So what we're going to do is take these two armies together here. 1, 2. Another thing I just want to know, do love the addition of how much light infantry you are using now. In Empire Total War, it did take a long time to get any decent light infantry. You were using just standard ones, didn't really do much, took a few pot shots, good for harassment, but not such a big issue. With these ones, you've got a lot more to range on them. They're clearly going to be a lot more accurate without suffering too many losses, and it's 30 men difference. And a lot of them do have the ability to put stakes down. I think if we look here, I think it's the Jaegers, if I'm right. Oh, the game is embarrassing me now. But still, skirmish, light scrub, resistant to morale shocks, all nice abilities to have them walking around the map, getting into positions where you want them, perhaps taking strategic points like woods that are up on a flank that you may want to then run some cavalry up to later with the artillery on them, and then start pounding them in from the side. Really useful tactics to use. Here we are. Path seldom trod, forward conceal the route of their march. See, lovely little abilities here. And it's lying to me, I know we've got stakes. We've got stakes somewhere. I swear to you. Absolutely swear. Although the game seems to be lying to me. Pretty sure I'm not wrong, but it looks like I'm being told that I'm wrong. We'll see. We'll see when we get into the battles. I swear to God. Playing as the Prussians many times, I've stuck stakes down, especially with the Jaegers. So we'll see if I'm right or wrong at a later date. Anyway, we have those two armies down there, and given that I've got Russia on side and I'm wanting all my units down here, and having a look at the we've got the tax bands. We're not doing so well here. Let's have a look. That is with that, so I'm going to want to bring these cannons along with these. How far. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm going to get that just to get it out of the way. You know, -10 to construction of buildings, that is a big difference. And you may wonder why that is there. The effects are just standard for anything. We go over and look at Sweden, who already have this set up. -3 there, and they have a harbour, so it is important. The reason it's here is obviously because of the -10 constructions regions in buildings in this region. So let's get that logging camp, and let's think. We're going to want to take these and see. Look at the range on those Jaegers. 65 accuracy compared to 45, and it's still 10 up from then. 125 range. It's only 60 of them, but with that accuracy and that range, if you've got a very specific unit you want to take out in their army, like maybe they've got some guard units or some grenadiers or something that you really don't want to be there, or you want to set up a really good ambush where you're going to want to take a lot of casualties of them, force the AI to shift its armies about, skirmishes are really good for that. So once again, nice balance in your armies between your line infantry and everything else. Really, personally, I go for a lot of line infantry, fair few cannons, and I'll have a couple of cavalry units just to protect the cannons on the flank, or if I have the cannons centred in the row, line infantry either side, and then I'll have cavalry units where I need them. I tend to focus on the infantry, but that's not to say with your own play style what you prefer to use. You know, it's all about finding those good combinations, but if you don't really know what you're doing, really good way to go is just to go nice big block of line infantry, get some cannons set up, and then have your infantry and your cavalry there just to support the flanks, and then have that big meat grinder in the main body of your army just pummeling away. So from out of here, what we're going to do, just have a check to see which armies' routes are there. Some Jaegers there, so we'll take these Jaegers. We'll leave those. Bring those over here. That's fine. Notice as we're coming across, it'll show you attrition because we're in the winter areas. Very important to note, you don't want to be leaving your armies out, suffering all of that, walking across, which also it does help in the winter times when you're playing against Russia, having them come in and sit in an army in here, giving it attrition. You're gonna, if an enemy is suffering from attrition, let them suffer from it. Just punish them as much as you can for that. Because we are going by month here in the calendar, which also makes it very interesting. And another thing to note, your generals, if they're important, like this guy here I do know, and where is he? He's here. And these two generals all replenish, they come back. You can recruit more generals in, but when they die, they die. Each faction has a few that will be injured and they'll come back into service. So just for an example, Napoleon. If you kill Napoleon in battle, yes, you kill Napoleon in battle, but he's still just going to respawn in Paris a little later on. The same goes for the Duke of Wellington for the British. So as we're saying, I'm going to get you in there. How much are we paying for the recruitment? 90 on both. You know, we don't need them. There is absolutely no need for them to be there. Never going to use them. They're useless units. Absolutely useless. So yeah, any militia, just get rid of them. If anyone's using militia, you need to stop. Just stop now. just don't do that. It's not even slightly advisable. Okay, let me thinking. I think what I'll do is, given that, you know, we're going to just want that presence up here. It's already being paid for. May as well just leave that small contingent there, just in case. You never know, someone decides to kick off. And we're already looking at the lower classes on 0 there from industrialisation, religious unrest. Once again, showing how religion is going to affect everything, so it is important. It's not just something that's sitting on the side. You know, Protestantism to Catholic. There we go. If you can get any missionaries up, that's always a good idea. In fact, I do apologise. Actually, I don't think missionaries are in this game. I may be wrong. but I can't think of where they spawn from. Maybe they spawn out the cities. Anyway, that's something. I'll have a look. I'll come back to you on that one in the next episode, and I'll let you know. Go away and just do a little bit of research on that. Okay, right, so we just moved that army, so now we're going to take out Saxony. Come here, declare war. Don't call Russia in, want to keep them as an ally, because he won't bother, most likely not, and you don't want to take that chance, really. If you don't need them to come into your aid, don't bother. So say if I was attacking the Ottomans, and I was an ally of the British, I wouldn't bother bringing Britain in, because it's very unlikely, given how far away they are. They may have trade routes set up, which is something as well to make sure you check. You know, there's no need to bring them into that war. They're not going to be of any use to me. However, say if I was attacking Russia and I was an ally of Austria, then that's someone I'm going to want to bring into the fold. So always something to know. Don't just leave that on, call your allies in, and not think about the effects you're going to have on your diplomacy and just how your allies are going to. So, you know, your show of strength, so someone's less likely to attack you if you've got more allies than unless all your allies have left you and you're leaving yourself in a vulnerable position. So, declare war. Nation. And as we can see, loads of armed citizens, but, you know, we're looking at this, it doesn't matter. We're going to absolutely obliterate them. We outclass them on the grenadiers, the horsemen, the cavalry, so there's no point fighting this. We're just going to auto-resolve. Victory. Sieg. And another thing to note, if you don't know, all of the losses that you take when you auto-resolve, they're spread across every single unit. So obviously, you know, your cannons, they're at the back of the line. Your generals, they're at the back of the line. You can obviously use your generals in combat, but why you would is beyond me. The last resort, really, you want them to use their abilities and just have them behind your army, rallying the troops. So really the point of that is when you know that you've got, say, 2 or 3 units to go through before you then move on to a bigger army, although it's tedious, it is quite beneficial to just go and fight that in the, you know, in the first person, get into the battle and just obliterate those units, you know, crush them into the ground and just make sure these essential ones aren't going to, you know, take any losses, and then you can minimise your losses to either 2 units, so everything else is nice and refreshed, or just in general pound the crap out of them with cannons. You know, if you've got superior artillery, just use that, always use that to your advantage, because they don't have ammunition depletion like your other units do. Okay, and then that nicely brings us on to this screen, which is more interesting than it looks. For one, the looting, not really ever going to be using because of the predicted public order. If you keep stacking that up, it's going to cripple your empire, you're going to feel it, and it's not going to be very nice. And here, the considerable damage to all buildings. The more damage they are, the more you're going to have to spend on repairing them, and that's not something you're going to be wanting to do when you've heavily invested in building armies and, you know, fighting wars. So really, looting, you want to leave that out, unless on a rare occasion, if the money acquired is going to be something like 20 to 30,000, which yes, it can get there. That's maybe when you're thinking, well, I can go and buy all these other things, and then the next turn, when I've got all my gold per turn, then I can repair it. I've got an army sat in there anyway, so it's not going to make much difference with the public order. Those are the times really to be using it. But really, you're always going to be wanting to use peaceful occupy. I mean, look at the difference between predicted region wealth here and here. You know, 600, 120, yes, you get that, but over time that's going to grow a lot faster. You're not going to have to repair these buildings. Never really worth doing this. The liberation element is quite interesting. Now, obviously, when you liberate someone, they are a puppet state of yours, so you're going to be getting half of their income every turn. So if you're more invested in keeping hold of the cities you've got now, and you're not really wanting to have to worry about those, you know, let them build their own armies up, and yes, let them build their own armies up, provide for themselves, that can be a lot better. And as well, resource permitting, they can give you some units, but generally they're not going to be that especially brilliant. And if you're quite keen, like I am, on having certain units in your army composition because you know how you want to use it, then you don't want to just have certain units being, you know, flown at you and given to you. And as well, if they're liberated, there's always that element that they could attack you. You know, Saxony's right next to Berlin. They suddenly turn around and decide they don't like me and go and take my capital. It's going to be a sticky situation. So really, I would say always generally go with peacefully occupy. Region captured. As we can see, you know, minor on that, 172. You know what, just so that's done next turn, because I'm a stickler for having those done the turn that I attack them, I'm going to cancel this, and we'll get that repaired. In fact, rather than doing that, given that, you see, 495, given that that's out of the way, we'll just take the basic roads off of that, get those done next turn, and have this market going. Okay, so by the looks of it, yep, those are pretty much the basics that you need to know about. You know, we're all set up now, we've got things going, we've got the army moving out, all our happiness is looking okay, I do believe. We check the policy tree, see, armies have moved away, and we can see the difference that's made. Go to lower classes, and as well, you know, it's making a difference compared to how green it was at the start. As we've been moving armies around and building things and going for minus happiness on the industrialisation, it's making a difference. You can see how important it actually is to make sure that these tax levels stay as low as possible. The national summary income now is 1500, so if we put that down there, not really made an effect, but it will over time. 845. I'll tell you what, while we're at the beginning, let's keep that over there and just get that a little bit extra money, and we can survive that slight amount of unhappiness. But as far that is may sound contradicting, it's not. You know, it's the early game. I'm playing this on very hard difficulty. That money's going to make a big difference. Big difference. Okay, let's end the turn. See what you're doing, Austria. Not much. Britain, Russia. Another thing, if you have a trade route with someone, it's always going to go straight to their capital, and the road that you can see it on, you're going to be able to have line of sight on that, which is quite nice for, you know, a bit more of that tactical element, that immersiveness of, you know, merchants telling you what's going on from your cities. So, you know, it's nice to have, and if you see any big armies moving across it, like we saw some troop movements, then it can give you an indication of whether someone may be working up to attack you, and they give you a bit of that early warning that you would need. Confederation of the Rhine. Although independent states, Germans, long... Republic of France, their laws need... So, there is no need to diplomatic in this great war stand against us. They are challenging, we must in all respects regard these territories as French possessions. Ha! Yeah right, France. Yeah right. As you can see already, you know, Bavaria, Württemberg, they were independent states. Next turn, they're France's, and he's not even have to go in and take them. And then France is getting very close already. And that Confederation of the Rhine just happens. That's not something that's happened because the difficulties are very high. Okay. So, get this done. Well, basically, we'll do this turn, and I think we'll end the video there for the first episode. So, once again, we'll get this recruitment going. One turn, next turn, then okay. Iron mine, manufactory. So, undecided. I want to get these going, but also, you know, it's vulnerable. I want to make sure that I'm going to take it before I start investing in that, and then just handing things over to them. What I want to think about right now is that we've taken here, as you can see, you know, replenishment rate, how slow this is going, slightly a bit better for the infantry. It does depend on what unit types, it also depends on what buildings you've got in there, so having these replenishment rate buildings makes a big difference because it's for every unit rather than, you know, a specific unit. So if we can, -2. Another thing that is good to worth exempting from tax can be useful for situations like this. you know, losing a bit of money, but I can move the army out. However, what I am going to do is I'm going to take some of these skirmishers out. So we're going to want to turn this into 2 armies. We're going to keep the cavalry here. We're going to take one of the dragoons. I'm going to take you, sir. Pop you back in there. That's sorted that out. Let's have a look. You know, again, paying attention to the turn of growth. Okay. Right, there we go. Let's get you in here. Recruitment. I'm going to start building this infantry up. 1, 2. I am in fact going to bring one of these grenadiers back. No attrition notice because he's not in the deep snow. And the money's gone down, and already, you know, we've spent it quite quickly. We're needing to wait for these roads to build up, but we do need these infantry units, unfortunately, and we need to get underway and start getting in and attacking here and gaining territory. So, that was the first episode of the Napoleon playthrough. I hope you've all enjoyed it, and maybe some of you have learnt something. I've enjoyed doing it. So until next time, I've been Harbinger from the Bunker Broadcast. So have a nice day, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.